Hi everyone, this is Frank Spencer, and this is another episode of There's Got to Be a Better Way, where I love to talk about anything and everything that will help us to democratize the future, futures for all, make the futures an equal place of access for everybody, transform the future, and lead us to aspirational visions of the future. And so, welcome to another episode. Today I just want to take a brief moment to talk about some cool things that I've sort of been seeing over the weekend. As a matter of fact, Umair Haq, who you may know, wrote an article this weekend called, I believe, Regress is Winning Because Progressivism is Broken, which I found very, very intriguing because one of the things that we've been saying here at Kedge, our foresight, innovation, and strategic design firm, which I'm a principal at, and also at the Future School, which I help co-found, and I am a lead instructor or co-lead instructor of the Future School, along with Yvette Montero Salatico and Nicole Baker Rosa. And one of the things that we say here all the time is not only that we want to democratize the future, but we talk about why the future has not been democratized and the importance of democratizing the future, not just because it's a good idea, but because it's integral to human development. I'll get back to that a little bit later, maybe not even on this episode, but it's something for you to chew on. So let me just say that Umair Haq's article really struck a chord with me for that very reason, because he says, hey look, regress is winning. We can look around Europe, we can look at the United States, we can look at China, we see authoritarianism, we see the rise of fascist ideology. I know there's a lot of people out there in magazines like The Economist and so that are saying, like, slow down, let's don't say this is fascism yet. But we do have to recognize when we smell the fascism, coming in, and that it does look that way. And nobody said that we have gotten into completely a fascist way of life around the world, and that fascism has taken hold again. But we can smell it, right? It's on the horizon. So you have to recognize those things. You have to be aware. We can't just sit back and say, don't use the word fascism because someone might upset somebody. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that we democratize the future for everyone. That's what's important. So Umair makes that great point because he says, hey, look, we're in this place and we can start to smell this coming on the horizon. And the smell is strong. It's not a weak smell. It's a strong smell. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. There's a lot of good stuff going on in the world too, and we definitely want to point that out. But we need to move the needle in the things that we see that aren't going well. And look, futures thinking is not about just throwing out the past and always saying that we need to move to the future. It's about saying, what do we need to hold on to? What are the constants? What changes taking place? There is a paradigm shift around the world going on. As a matter of fact, when I posted this article from Haq Online, Regress is Winning Because Progressivism is Broken, where, by the way, he really talks about there being the need for this new vision, especially at this time where this weekend was the 50th anniversary of the Apollo moon landing. Yes, it did happen. And we need a new vision like we did back in the 50s. Maybe we, romanticize that somewhat, as he says in the article. But we did tend to have a vision, a national vision. As a matter of fact, I've been watching some of the documentary this past weekend about the Apollo 11. You saw people from the Middle East and all over Europe and all over China sitting in front of their television sets watching us land on the moon. And it was like a global vision. And then we've let that slip away, and now nations don't even have a vision, and that's why authoritarianism and the strong man starts to take hold again, and people want a strong man, and they want vision again, and they start regressing into the shadows instead of progressing into global unity and moving towards democratizing the future for everyone. So I was really inspired by the article, because even though the article is a bit of a bummer, it's a little depressing because it's all about how regress is winning, I couldn't help but say yes to this article, because we need that new vision, and I know exactly what will help us to do that. Among other things, producing a foresight mindset in all of humanity, which, as I said earlier, I believe is the natural progression or natural evolution, or whatever the words you want to use is, for humankind to move away from hindsight towards foresight. And that does not negate history and all of that stuff. That's for another episode. So please don't worry about arguing that. It's about shifting our mindset to be forward influenced and forward focused rather than backwards influenced and backwards focused only. And yes, history is important, and yes, we learn from history. I'm not saying any of that. So I wanted to read to you a great comment made by Lorian Pratt, who I've mentioned on There's Got to Be a Better Way before. She's chief scientist at Quantalia. She is a stalwart in the field of machine learning for a long, long time, and is well known in the field of machine learning and artificial intelligence. Many would even say that she coined the term, or maybe I'm not even being forward enough. She probably did coin the term decision intelligence, and there's a great conference coming up in August in New York where Vint Cerf and Lorian and others are going to be talking all about decision intelligence and what that means. Basically, she describes it here in her comment that she posted on Facebook when I posted the article from Umair Haq online, and she said, yeah, this is a great article. Many of us now believe the this regression that we see going on around the world in Europe, the United States, and Britain, and all the nonsense that's going on. Many of us believe that this stall happened because the world changed. Specifically, it phase shifted, I love that, and needed new solutions. Yet we did not realize that the phase shift was happening. So I will even add to that in just a minute. Yes, and so let me add to that in just a minute. But let me finish reading what she said. So we have been beating our foreheads bloody against the wall, trying the old methods, old ways. You hear me talk about this all the time. As a matter of fact, I recently wrote an article called "Escaping the Flat Earth Apocalypse." You can find it on Medium and LinkedIn, and we'll put it in our newsletter pretty soon. But if you look me up on on Medium, you'll find "Escaping the Flat Earth Apocalypse," and it's really all about. It's not about just the crazy conspiracy theory that the Earth is flat. It is about the fact that we already had a flat Earth theory, and it's exactly this. It's not that the physical Earth is flat, our thinking's flat. Ooh. So she finishes by saying, we've been beating our foreheads bloody against the wall, trying the old methods. This got discouraging, so we're collectively stalled. The world is collectively stalled. Scratching our heads for a bit, but not much longer. I love the optimism. In short, linearity, single link, mechanistic, and local is now becoming nonlinear, cyclical, multi-link, emergent, and global. Awesome. Which means solutions must move from auditory, sequential, and static to visual, spatial, interactive. Love that, because I'm going to comment on it in just a moment. Simulation-based and dynamic. This is the solutions renaissance. I love that, solutions renaissance. And it's happening right now in fiction, in journalism, in tech, in strategy, in futures, in policy, and more and more and more. And you can read all about it in her upcoming book called Link, which comes out in September. And we're honored. She very nicely quoted Yvette and I in the book on multiple places and on multiple occasions throughout the book. So I can't wait to see Link in the bookstores. I think last that I checked, and that was like 2 weeks ago, it's already on Amazon, the number 11 book on machine learning and artificial intelligence. And the other 10, the top 10, are already published. That's pretty cool. Sorry about that. And so, so let me just sort of end by saying, I want to link this. I'm saying a lot here, but you can go and chew on this video. It's pretty short. I'm going to try to keep it right at 10 minutes. We're almost there. But chew on all this that I'm throwing at you again. I'm going to be speaking next month at the International Design Conference. And some of what I'm talking about right here, I'm going to unload in my session there, which is called You Can't Count Cows Until They Moo. And basically what that means is that you can't see these unknown, or as she says, these nonlinear, cyclical, multi-link, emergent global futures unless you recognize the systems. We cannot depend on old systems to show us the cow. Basically, in a nutshell, that comes from the idea that today what we call the cow, the domesticated cow, many hundreds of years ago actually turns out was bred through 80 different species, 80 species along the way gave us what we know as a cow today. So you couldn't stand way back centuries ago and, when those 80 species are standing around and say like, ooh, I can't wait to give me some milk. No, but that doesn't mean that the cow wasn't coming. And so you could just throw your hands up in there and go like, Frank, it's ridiculous, who cares? You have to just wait centuries to see that there will be a cow. Nobody can predict the cow. I'm not saying we can predict the cow. I am saying that we can map the cow. That we can start to look at what could emerge if these things are colliding and converging. If we had the mindset of multi-link, spatial, visual, global, emergent, that she's talking about, the futures mindset, if we democratize the futures to the futures mindset, then we would start looking for a cow long before it appeared. Because it's about a mindset. We would not. Yeah, we wouldn't under the old regressive way. And it's exactly why we've got what we have now. We've got what we have now because we allowed our vision, our global vision to be taken away from us. And now we've slipped into identity politics and all of this stuff. And I don't want to get into all that right now. But the point being is that we've gotten away from really trying to create a global, collective narrative and vision that will take us to aspirational and transformational futures. And so I'll just close out this by saying that there are 3 ways that I believe that you can look at the future. And 2 of them, the first 2, really look at the future, try to reach this idea of futures thinking through the old linear way. Now, I'm going to rock a little bit of boats here, and I know that I've already gone over the 10 minutes, but just give me another minute more. The first way is to say the future is a time. The future is going to happen a year from now, 3 months from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, etc. And when we do that, we tend to go like, oh, well, we don't know what's going to happen in that time, blah, blah, blah. And I would say it's still true. Again, I believe we cannot predict the future. Absolutely right. But we also say, and we'll just find out what happens when we get to it. And we will use our old systems, and we will linearly and incrementally try to get there. And boy, the fireworks should be going off in your head right now because you should be thinking data and all this stuff. And I didn't say I'm anti-data. Watch some of the previous There's Got to Be Another Way episodes, and you'll hear me talk about data a little bit. I'm not against data, but I really have some questions about the way that we're using data today because we're using it under the old systems. We're using it the same way. And so, having said that, the second way, you can see how linear that first way is. The future is a time. I've been telling clients for a long time now because one of my favorite futures says the future is a place. And I love that because I think it goes beyond the future as a time. When we think about the future being a place, it's tangible. And now we start thinking 20 years from now, will there be rivers? Will there be trees? Will there be oceans? Will there be a planet? Will there be people? And so we can talk about the future being inhabited or uninhabited. And that's very important. But when you think about those two, it's time and space, right? The time-space continuum. The future is a time. The future is a place, a space. And when we do that, we've locked the future into being constrained to time and place and space. Even if that time is 30 years from now, that space is 30 years from now, it's under the old linear local model. Think about that. It's pretty heavy. So the third way is the future is an encounter. And that separates the future from the constraints of time and space. When you understand the future being an encounter, you can construct the future. The future is within you. The future, as Rilke would have said in one of his poems, the future enters in you before it manifests so that it can work itself inside of you and then emerge from you or emerge from us collectively. So if we have a collective vision, the future can emerge from us. And this is why futures thinking is a natural part of man's evolution, of humankind's evolution. When I say man's, I mean all of us. I'm sorry about that slip, but of humanity's evolution. I want you to go back and try to digest this video again. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up. We will see you super soon. I can't wait to be at IDC in Chicago next month, and maybe I'll see you even before then. But if I don't, just remember, there's got to be a better